Hi everyone, I'm Haley, and today, to celebrate the coming new year, we're going to be making some super cool New Year's cupcakes. So let's get started. So for the cupcake, I'm just going to be making a basic butter cake recipe. I'm going to start with half a cup of softened butter, and I'm going to put that in my stand mixer. Oh, there, it came off my spatula finally. And I'm also gonna add in half a cup of granulated sugar. Ooh. And then I'm gonna turn my mixer. I'm gonna turn my mixer on, and I'm gonna beat this until it's light and fluffy. All right, once the butter and the sugar mixture is done, then we're gonna add in 1 whole egg. And once again, I'm gonna beat that in. And during this step, you might have some trouble combining the egg with the butter at first, because the butter just wants to stick to the sides, and then the egg is a puddle in the middle. But just make sure you use a spatula. You can scrape down the sides, and it helps it a lot. Now I'm just gonna keep beating this until it's well combined. All right, now that that's done mixing, I'm gonna add half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I like to make my teaspoon very full. So now on a medium speed, I'm gonna mix in the vanilla. Then once all of the vanilla is mixed in, I have a separate bowl over here, and we're going to combine the dry ingredients. So I have 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. The flour kind of bounced off of the spoon, I guess, and it got a little bit outside of my bowl. Then we're also going to add an 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and an 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And I'm using salt because I used unsalted butter, but if you have salted butter, then you can just use that and not add the salt. And now I'm just gonna stir this all together until it's well combined. All right, once all of the dry ingredients are mixed together, we're gonna add half of this into the bowl of our stand mixer. Oh my gosh, I'm really struggling to pull the bowl up for some reason. What is wrong with it? Okay, I got it. And now I'm just gonna mix the flour in on low until it's just combined. Once the first half of the flour mixture is mixed in, then we're going to add the second half of the flour mixture. Try not to spill it. And we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of buttermilk. Ooh, it smells good. I mean, it smells kind of weird, but it smells good. And now, once again, I'm gonna mix this in on low until it's just combined. All right, now that my ingredients are mostly mixed in, I'm gonna take my spatula and I'm going to scrape down the sides and just make sure it's all evenly combined. But be gentle with the cake, be gentle. It's very sensitive cake. All right, I finished mixing the batter, and now we're going to evenly divide it into 6 muffin cups. And I am using a cookie scoop, that way they're all perfectly even. Ah! Too big, too much. All right, I finished dividing my batter into my muffin pan, and I actually ended up not using the cookie scoop because it was holding way too much batter. So I just used a spatula to divide it. And after you've done that, I'm just gonna take a spoon and I'm going to even out the cupcake batter. All right, we're finally done, and now I'm going to bake these. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to bake these for about 15 to 20 minutes, or until a toothpick stuck in the middle comes out clean. And into the oven. All right, my cupcakes just came out of the oven, and now I'm going to set them aside and let them cool. And while they are cooling, we're gonna make the frosting. So to make the frosting, you're gonna wanna use an electric mixer. I'm using Sir Whiskington again. He's being super helpful today. And I'm gonna start by adding in my butter. So I have a 1/4 cup of softened salted butter, and I'm just gonna put that in the mixer. And now I'm gonna beat this butter until it's nice and smooth. Once the butter is mixed in, then I'm gonna slowly add in 1 cup of powdered sugar. And I have pre-sifted mine just to ensure that there are no lumps, but if you don't have a sieve, then you can just not sift it. And once the powdered sugar is mixed in, I'm gonna add half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then I'm also gonna add a 1/16 teaspoon of almond extract. And if you don't have almond extract, then you can just leave it out, but I definitely recommend using it because it has such a great flavor in the frosting. And the last thing we're gonna add is 1 tablespoon of milk. And now I'm gonna beat that all together until the frosting becomes nice and fluffy. Alright, so my frosting is all done, and now I'm just going to transfer it to a piping bag. Alright, I have my cupcakes, I have my frosting, and now the last step is to decorate them. So I'm just gonna take a cupcake and I'm gonna pipe a pretty thin, flat layer of frosting on top. And then after you frost the cupcakes, you're gonna take the cupcake and dip it straight into some gold sanding sugar. And then they're gonna come out looking like this. That one's a little messy. So like I said, you wanna do a pretty thin layer of frosting on each cupcake, and you're actually not going to use all of the frosting because we're gonna use it later and dye it black for the numbers. So the next thing we're gonna do is dye the frosting black. So I am just gonna squirt all of my leftover frosting into a bowl. And then I have some black food dye, and I'm just gonna take a toothpick and get a little dab of it and put it in the bowl with my frosting. And then I'm gonna use a spatula to mix this all together. All right, I finished coloring my frosting. I think I used about 1/4 teaspoon of black food dye, and that was gel food dye. So if you're using liquid, it would probably take a lot more. I also added a couple spoonfuls of extra powdered sugar to thicken the frosting. So now I'm just gonna transfer this to my piping bag, which is fitted with a small star tip. Also, just as a warning, be careful with the black food dye because it's very strong. I got it all over my hands, and I washed my hands, but it didn't come off. So hopefully it'll come off later. So now I'm just gonna take my black frosting and I'm going to pipe 2021 on each of the cupcakes. And if you're watching this video in the future, then you can just change the number, it doesn't matter. These numbers take up a lot of space, so you're gonna wanna use the smallest piping tip you have and start on the far edge of the cupcake. And then if you want to, you can also just do little dabs like I'm doing right there. Boop. I think they're kinda cute. And voila, here are the finished New Year's cupcakes that we made. These just make me so happy right now. They're exactly the way I pictured them. And now it's time for the best part. I'm gonna try one. These cupcakes are so good and so super sweet, almost overly sweet. I feel like my teeth are hurting from all the sugar. I have no idea what's going on. Oh, hold on, I figured out what was hurting my teeth. It was the sanding sugar. It's just like, it's just a little like, well, honestly, it's like sand. It's exactly what it's called. It feels like I have sand in my mouth, but it tastes way, way better than that. Butter cake is definitely, no, actually, chocolate cake is definitely my favorite cake, but next to chocolate cake, butter cake is number 2. Okay, hold on, there's carrot cake. All right, carrot cake is probably the best cake ever. I have a really great recipe for carrot cake, and you can click up there if you ever want to make it. And I feel like there's some other cake flavors I'm forgetting because I just like almost all cake, honestly. But let me know what your favorite cake is in the comments. Well, thank you so much for baking with me today. Let me know if you ever make these cupcakes at home because I would love to see pictures of them. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share my channel with all of your family and friends so everybody can have delicious recipes. And here's to a happy new year. Water. Done that, now I'm just blah blah blah. Can't talk today. Go for wrong word.